All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. It is 8 a.m., 8 o'clock on the dot on Tuesday morning, August the 13th. This is Coffee Talk. We get together 7 days a week, chat about what's going on in the world of weather, hopefully get your day started off on the right note. This is a particularly special day for me just because it is the 20-year anniversary of Hurricane Charley. And I don't say it's a special day in like an excited way because, of course, those of us that went through Hurricane Charley, whether here in Central Florida or particularly down in South Florida, remember what a devastating storm it was. But it's a special day in terms of a good reminder that anybody that thinks in Florida that they can't get hit by a hurricane should double check things. Now, we're going to talk more about Charley coming up in just a little bit. Cannot flipping believe it's been 20 years. But let's start off with our local forecast. Our forecast today, see what's doing and all that fun stuff. Tower Cam Network taking us over to New Smyrna Beach. It is beautiful this morning. It's a little hazy, perhaps, but otherwise not too bad. Let's head over to Port Canaveral, see what's doing over there. A nice start to the day. The sun is shining bright. I see some of the little boats heading on out. Oh, man, I want to go out there. Orlando International Airport, see what's doing on our tower cam there. It is a pretty start to the day. Disney Springs, showing some of that haze. And last but not least, we'll head to downtown Orlando. Yeah, it's looking good. It's looking good. So Tower Cam Network is looking great this morning. We take a look at our first warning Doppler radar and live sweep showing a nice, relatively quiet scan. We've got some showers off the East Coast. We've even got a couple of showers, teeny tiny little showers coming in along the nature coast there, but otherwise quiet. Upper 70s out the door in Ocala. Claremont, Orlando, lower 80s in Winter Haven. Forecast today brings us up to 95 degrees. It is going to be a hot day in the neighborhood, right? Yep. Yep. And then we get showers and thunder showers fired up. A 50% coverage of seeing some of that rainfall around. So good times. Let's take a look at the old future gas, see what's doing. Bada bing, bada boom. Loading. All right, this morning, nice and quiet, getting those rains beginning around 1 o'clock or so. 2:30, 3 o'clock, firing up some showers and storms, and then kablowy, some storms around dinner time. Futurecast showing dinner time is the higher coverage. Let me go to the extended Futurecast. This one runs longer, but is another version to look at, and it's also going with kind of that later stuff. Did I get beta Futurecast running yet? I think I fixed it. Nope, I did not fix it. I will have to fix it today. All right, that's fine. Oh, we can look at the HER model, the high resolution rapid refresh model. All right, where are we at? HER, not the extended, not the extended. I just want the hourly HER. Burris, your eyes are getting old. That's the extended. There we are. All right. All right. Let me load up the HER model. High resolution rapid refresh. It's something that everybody has access to. Um, this is not an exclusive. My exclusive. Ugh. No, this is the one everybody gets. All right. So a couple of showers out west. Going with the better coverage late. All right. So hers wanting to go a little bit further east for the activity later, but it's kind of in agreement with this idea of the later start to the convection. So we'll see how that goes. All right. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of high temperatures today. It's going to be a nice and toasty one, right? 95 in Orlando. It's about 94 today in Leesburg. Even the beaches with that west-southwest wind, 91, 92 degrees. So yeah, it's going to be a nice and toasty day for us. If you've got plans out and about, just plan on that, right? Yeah, not too bad. All right. Questions, comments, concerns about our local forecast? It seems to be pretty okay. It seems to be pretty okay. Elliot, good morning. While we, it'll be, yes, it's going to be a while until we cool down. I've already had, now that we're like back into school, I've had a few people ask, like, okay, when's that first cold front? Ah, it's not going to be for a while. Yeah. Oh, well. I'm sorry. It's not gonna be for a while. We've got plenty of humidity around, right? Dang it. Oh man. All right. Questions, comments, concerns. Jessica over on YouTube said we had a funnel cloud over my house in Daytona Beach Shores yesterday. It was a nasty storm. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I had a lot of people reaching out and writing over that. Even our Claire Metz, our alumni Claire Metz, had posted something about it yesterday. Um, I'm not going to say that it was terrifying, but it was definitely one of those interesting interesting little interesting little storms, we'll say. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at. All right. All right. Any other question? Queen Claire. That's right. That's right. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns, anything like that? Before we move on and see what's doing, I know y'all are wondering about the tropics. I know. I know. I got you covered. Don't you worry. Oh, it was terrifying if you're in it. I'm sure. I'm sure. All right, let's take a look and see what's doing in the tropics this morning. And while we're discussing this, just a reminder today at 10 a.m., WJCL Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Nelson and I will be doing our Tracking the Tropics broadcast where we take a deep dive. We're going to take a deep dive on the tropics here, but we'll also take a deep dive down the way just a little bit. All right. All right. Tropical Storm Ernesto, 8 o'clock intermediate advisory is out. Winds continue to increase. Winds are at 45 miles an hour. And I just want to look and see what the 5 a.m. was on it. 5 a.m. had winds of 40. Pressure at 5 a.m. was at 1,007. We are now at 1,005. It's absolutely getting better organized. I mean, looking at that satellite presentation, I'll bring it full screen for you. It's clearly getting its act together. I would not be surprised if this strengthens more than what the Hurricane Center's official forecast is calling for. There's the visible satellite loop over the last hour. Certainly showing up on the satellite imagery. Now, here's the forecast from the National Hurricane Center. Expected to become a hurricane by Thursday morning. I suspect it'll be a hurricane by today or tomorrow, if I'm honest. And here's a good reason why, right? Like, just looking at the numbers, it wasn't supposed to get to 45 until this afternoon, but here we are at 45. So it's already kind of outplaying itself. So I would suspect that that will continue. It'll pass very near, for our friends and family. A lot of us have friends and family in Puerto Rico, right? It should pass by the northern shoreline, probably as a strong tropical storm. I would say possibly as a strong tropical storm, probably as a low-end hurricane. That'll be sometime late tonight into tomorrow morning. We'll look at Futurecast in a little bit there. But after that, should stay well to our east. But our friends in Bermuda, how is it, by the way, that you've got this tiny island in the middle of the ocean and you somehow find a way to collect hurricanes? This may be a hurricane for Bermuda, depending on, exact tracks and things like that. So, yeah, Lauren says, get ready, Bermuda. I mean, seriously. So, we can certainly look at all the model data. Let's start with the we can start, since it's a thing, let's start with some ensembles. All right. Here's the GFS ensembles. Loading. Loading. All right. Hold on. Let me get this view in check. Come on. Delete you. Delete you. Position over Ernesto. All right. Okay. And then tropical track. Give me a second. I'm making the sausage, people. Data time. Okay. All right, here's the European ensembles. Okay, so very near Puerto Rico, tightly packed. That's 8 o'clock tonight. Some of the ensembles are going south of the island, which would put the island in the rougher weather. Most of the ensembles are keeping it on the north side of the island, which would give the island lower impact, lower severity impact, which is fine. From there's your ensemble tracks continuing to kind of stay out to sea. And they go widespread, it's not a shoe-in to Bermuda. Some ensembles are a little to the left, some ensembles are a little to the right, but you get the idea. So that's what the GFS ensembles are showing. Okay, let's look at the European ensembles now. And give me a second here. I need to set this up. Tropical track. Ernesto, scene camera, position over Ernesto. Okay. All right. Here's the European ensembles. All right. So there you go. Near. There we go. Zoom in. We don't need you. Keyframes. If anybody's ever edited, you know what a pain in the tuchus keyframes are when they're not supposed to be where they're supposed to be. All right, through time, Euro ensemble kind of doing the same idea. Spreading out, spreading out. There's Bermuda. Now, I'll also add, like, the European model has more ensembles than the GFS, which is why you see more red lines, more red lows. But yeah. And then, of course, from there, they kind of go out. So, all right, that's that. Brian, my question about Bermuda is if historically it gets hit with many hurricanes, why not build everything to be able to withstand max possible hurricane winds and surges? I think they do as best you can. Cost plays into things. And I don't know a thing about, like, building codes, but I would just say that, I would suspect that if you're on an island and you get hit by hurricanes as much as they do, or down here in the Caribbean, you're probably kind of weighing this code to cost thing, right? So anyway, there's the storm system as it is now. There are tropical storm advisories in effect for Puerto Rico, okay? So friends in PR, you are under a tropical storm warning, meaning that tropical storm conditions are expected. And again, that's going to be late tonight into tomorrow. That extends through the Virgin Islands and into parts of the Antilles there. All right? Terry, are we definitely not getting this in Florida? Sure doesn't look like it. I'm never going to see never, right? But like the forecast is pretty spot on here and thankfully not anticipating this to strike us. So that's good. Recon data, hurricane hunters are investigatory missioning. I know that's not a word. Just teasing. But yeah, I mean, you can see the winds there in the storm are still in tropical storm strength. They are not in hurricane strength. There are 2 missions in there as we speak, zigzagging and doing the things. So it's looking better on satellite presentation. The winds have not gotten to hurricane strength yet. That 45 on the intermediate advisory, no doubt, is from this recon data. And I would suspect that as these missions continue, we'll get higher winds and that and the like. But if you're unfamiliar with this, red lines, that's from one mission recon data, and then kind of the blue line is from another mission. But you can see this is the tropical storm window. Hurricane window is right in there, so we're not getting hurricane force winds. And of course, you can see there's one of the airplanes, there's another airplane. All right. Sound good? All right. We make up words here. It's all good. Kablowy, right? Kablooey, right? Yes. Jennifer says, I can't imagine the cost to build a hurricane-proof building in countries that have to import almost everything. I mean, that's the other thing, right? That's why there's a code versus cost Nyquist, right? You have to play that game. So, yeah. Investigatory mission zigzags. Yeah. This is why I'm not the chief meteorologist, right? Because I make words up. Mike says pressure drops first and winds follow. Look at you, Mike. My babies are all grown up. They're learning. They know y'all are doing great. Yeah. So pressure's dropping. Winds are already following. Yes, following. And that's true, Barb. Yes. So it's intensifying and there's no sign of it stopping, right? One thing I'm curious, and I haven't checked, let me just run over here. I have not looked to see what the ship's forecast is on. So ships is one of the intensity models. And interesting. Okay. So the ship's intensity model says For a rapid intensification probability, in the 12-hour realm, there is a 6% likelihood of rapid intensification. But in the 24-hour realm, there is a 48% chance of rapid intensification. So the ship's model is talking about that possibility there for sure. All right, look, I mean, definitely saw some hot towers, some of those little purple shades right in there. You see that? So it's bubbling up. Really, really glad that it's not going to be hitting Florida. For our friends in Puerto Rico, it's going to be some crummy weather. Thankfully, it's not going to be any kind of a massive hit to them. For Bermuda, it could be something. It really could be something. I think that the Hurricane Center's forecast path for Bermuda is definitely on the more conservative angle, but we'll have to see, right? Winds at 110. That's not far off from a Category 3 storm. Either way, if we've got friends in Bermuda, let's make sure they're paying attention. There's still days and days of time to watch, and hopefully this doesn't go there, but there we go. Right? All right, let's see here. Evelyn says you're our favorite meteorologist. Thank you, love. Appreciate it. Kelly says your babies may be growing up, but you're still a millennial, and you should never forget that. Okay. You're a chief meteorologist, in my opinion. You smell what the rocks cooking, my friend. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Nikki says, being in the process of building our house, I can tell you it's not cheap. Our building is rated to 185 plus winds. We have impact doors and windows, but it also cost us between 400K and 500K. It's a big house, much larger than average, even for Florida, but the costs definitely add up. Oh, 100%. And we don't have to import things like Bermuda, or any of these other island communities do. And so that's, I mean, imagine the cost of having to throw shipping containers full of this stuff. I mean, that's where it gets wicked, right? Yeah. Amanda's asking, is the ensemble showing anything after Ernesto? Thought I saw a spot long-term shot. Yeah, we'll look. Let's look. Let's look. All right. All right. So that's Ernesto. Real before we move on, questions, comments, concerns about Ernesto. I'm a big kid now. Bum bum. Mike. All right. Questions, comments, concerns about Ernesto before we move on. I will give you a few seconds as I'm loading up the models. Jenny says, I read that it costs 20% more to make your house hurricane resistant. It might be more now, but I definitely think it's worth it. It's as my father always said, it and this my father got it from one of his colleagues who has since passed away over at the old Deland Nissan. It costs money to drink whiskey and ride the train. Don't know where that came from originally, but there you go. All right. All right. Let's look not just in the zoomed in, but let's go to the wide shot. Okay. There's the Bermuda high. We could see that 1020 millibar high out in the middle of the Atlantic. All right. There's Ernesto deepening. Another wave coming off the coast of Africa, pretty far north, frankly. Kind of gets sheared apart. I would suspect the Madden-Julian oscillation goes out of phase and doesn't really support much. Another little wave. A couple little things, but nothing. That's Ernesto again. Yeah, nothing striking. But a little something there on the 28th around the Antilles. One thing that caught my eye, let's go back to the zoomed in shot. So there's Ernesto. As it lifts north, did I see something out here in the Gulf? I thought maybe I didn't. I thought my eye caught something. Maybe it didn't, though. Maybe not. Okay. All right. All right. So that's the GFS. Let's switch over to the European. We'll go out to the basin view. There goes Ernesto. Another wave off the coast of Africa. There's Ernesto. Couple areas off the coast of Africa, but they're so far north that they look like they'd be recurvers if they try to do anything. Go into the Caribbean view and just I'm just looking, people. There's some low pressure around South Florida around the 19th. It's nothing organized, but the model's showing some anomalously lowered pressure, so that's something interesting. All right, let's because of funsies, let's look at the AI model, the European AI model. And again, I have no idea what they don't have a track record with this thing, but it's something to look at. There's that. Look at that trough diving across the Great Lakes, helping to pull Ernesto north and save us. That's always lovely. Definitely some lowered pressure on the 19th, 20th, 21st around Florida. You see that there, that blue? And then there's the AI model's got something around the Antilles around the 21st, but it's weak. And a couple little doohickeys fading out in the Atlantic, but nothing more than that. Okay, love that. Since we're just running through models, let's look at the Canadian. There goes Ernesto. And I mean, the 18th, 19th, 20th. Look at the Canadian model here. Ernesto's wake kind of leaves a little piece of energy. You see that there east of us? It's like a little something. A little homegrown thing pulling away, perhaps. I saw like hints of it on the GFS, a hint of it on the European. The Canadian kind of has it as a little super weak, unorganized low. But that's something to watch for on the back side of Ernesto there. Interesting. And then a little something into the Caribbean, perhaps. Icon, let's do that. There's Ernesto. Yeah, that's it. Okay. All right, so that's Ernesto. My friends, questions, comments, concerns? I was in analysis mode, so any of you all who had been commenting there the last few seconds, apologies, did not see it. Will Ernesto dry us out? It's possible, although those models are kind of hinting at some lowering pressure over top of us. So I wonder if, like, in its wake, it kind of bubbles up another little area of low pressure. Honestly, you know, I need to turn this fan on in here. Give me a second. I'm turning on my office fan. It's hot. All right. Ugh. You know, we always talk about coffee talk not being good TV. There's a prime example. You're just sitting in my office with me, y'all. And my hair is standing up. What was I was I thinking when I did my hair this morning? All right. Yeah, hot flash, exactly. Melissa, can somebody tell me about Idalia? What about Idalia? That's not happening right now. All right. Savannah asks, is there another storm behind that one? We were literally just looking at it. Doesn't look like anything significant. Doesn't look like anything significant there. Yeah. You didn't put the frosted tips in. That's what you didn't do. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we can talk about that. All right. So today is August the 13th. And as I mentioned, this is a day for me that I will never forget. It is the day that Hurricane Charley made landfall on Florida's southwest coast. It rapidly intensified from a Category 2 near Key West to a Category 4 hurricane at landfall. And then by the time it made it to Central Florida, was a Category 1 hurricane. And for so many people, this was the hurricane that changed it all. I grew up, okay, like full disclosure, right? Born in 84, grew up in Central Florida. I will never forget watching hurricanes like Fran and Aaron, Bertha, Floyd, all of these hurricanes come near us and not really impact Orlando. And I remember my mother recognizing my terror of weather, my unbridled, uncontrollable fear of weather. And real quick about me, fear drives everything I do. I was afraid to fly in an airplane, so I had to learn to fly airplanes. I was not a good swimmer. I was afraid to swim. I learned to scuba dive. I was afraid of weather, so I became a meteorologist. Anyway, narcissism aside, um, this was the hurricane, I feel like, that changed Central Florida mindsets, because my mother had always said, we were told you can't get hit by a hurricane in Orlando. We're just too far inland. The last time that a hurricane had gone into Orlando and done this kind of damage was before Disney arrived, right? So when you think about it, before 2004, the last hurricane to really hit Central Florida like this was Hurricane Donna in 1960. So 60, 70, 80, 90, 2000. So you're talking 44 years. 44 years from strike to strike, at least to this level. Wow, first off, and we all knew that Central Florida wasn't that far away from, like, we're not going to get a storm surge rolling down Orange Avenue in the 408, but a hurricane condition, absolutely you can get. So to that point, Charley was a big thing, and producer Kelly, love you, is making fun of me because I posted this on my social channels, and maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. That was me covering Hurricane Charley 20 years ago tonight. You can see Hurricane Charley in the background. That was on Fast Track, which was the old radar system that all the stations used to use. That, yes, that was me on my Nextel. Whoa. And before glasses, man, did I love throwing a pen in my ear. Man, did I love throwing a pen in my ear. But that was me tracking the core of the storm. And as a matter of fact, here's another image. This one will show you, I think, a better shot of like the radar. Okay, so yeah, so there's a better image. And you can see I was running radar, so when I was not like physically on the computer, I was turning around and watching the meteorologist. But there you can see kind of in the monitor over my shoulder, that was when the core, the eye wall, or what is left of the eye wall, moving through the Orlando International Airport, where they had a 105, 106 mile per hour gust. That was when the eye wall, now the eye had filled in already, but that was when the eye wall was moving into downtown Orlando, working down the 408 and UCF. And that was, Disney and Kissimmee were all on the back sides there. So yeah, that was a storm. Man, let me tell y'all, these pictures were taken by a guy I went to high school with, who I ended up getting a job at the television station, Brian Ty. All rights reserved. I wish I had the high resolution images of these. These are old. Don't even remember how they've come through, but yeah. Tiffany says, "Is that blonde hair?" I had blonde highlights, son. I was trying to be. I was in college, okay? Don't judge me. But yeah, that was a storm I'll never forget. And I want to share, for those of us that were here for it, I want to share some of our experiences. What do you remember? For me, you're stuck with me talking, so I get to share first, right? I will never forget as it made that turn, because the official forecast had it going to Tampa. Southwest Florida was in the cone of confidence, and it definitely hung that right-hand turn, changing the game, right? Moving it right into Orlando. Everybody in Tampa came to Orlando, and then, we're screwed again. Like, the thing came right over Orlando. It caught everybody in Southwest Florida off guard. It caught, So, and I just remember we were the team I was with at the time, not my current team. We were on the air trumpeting, trying to get the message out. This was before social media. We were trying to get the message out like, y'all, it's coming here. It's coming here. It's coming here. It's coming here. And then because it had been so long since Central Florida had gotten anything like that, the tree damage was wicked. The power outages for days and for weeks was wicked. The blue tarps everywhere. Unbelievable, unbelievable storm. Man. In all the 5 years I worked with you, I don't think I've ever seen you do any newscast without glasses. That was because Audrey told me to. Yeah. Ashley, I'll never forget Charley. I don't think Cat 1 was enough. 2 weeks, no power was crazy. But that is a testament not to the storm's strength, but rather how long it had been since our infrastructure in Central Florida had taken a hit like that. Because the maximum winds were clocked over 100 miles an hour to Orlando International Airport, but that was it. It was like 105, 106. I think that was where we were at. That's a heck of a wind, Heck of a wind. Brian says, I worked through all of that, mostly in the EOC. People were going crazy over things like ice. Correct. So much we had to assign law enforcement to escort and guard ice trucks to other supplies. Right? Right. Just unbelievable. Debbie says, your hair looks great longer. Grow it out. Audrey has I have very strict instructions. Elliot says, growing up in Orlando, Eric is spot on. I slept through Aaron in 95. My aunt and uncle live on Pine Island. I've been to Pine Island. Elliot, I used to date a girl that lived on Pine Island. Been there many times. Loved Pine Island. My aunt and uncle live on Pine Island. They were in Montana on vacation. I have a photo of the eye wall over the island. After the storm, they started up a palm grove. Saved their house in Ian. Wow, that's a story, Elliot. Matt Lachey up to Bokeelia was where, man, did Pine Island get struck. Man. Frank says, I'll never forget being the only car driving to St. Pete from Tampa, and the other side of the bridge was a parking lot. Right, when everybody thought it was going to Tampa. Yeah. Laura says, our electricity was out for 2 weeks, and the smell of rotten meat in our fridge was terrible. We had to get ice from military trucks that went to our neighborhood, trees down everywhere. Man. Gail, my memory was silly. My boys watching in the backyard with the winds blowing like crazy told them to get in the house as I'm yelling. The tree topped off and the boys beat me back into the house. Yeah. That's terrifying. Man. Julie, okay, Orlando, Central Florida would never get a Cat 5, Cat 4, or even a Cat 3 hurricane because by the time it hits land, it will decelerate, right? Never say never. Every storm is different, and you get the right storm at the wrong angle of attack. Never say never. Never say never. Billy, I remember Charley. I lived in an apartment complex. We got flooded from it. It was crazy. Lots of damage. It's true. Mike was in Orange Lake when Charley hit. It wasn't too bad in the area, but east of I-4 looked like a bomb went off. Yeah, you were on the right, on the correct side. You were on the left side of that storm's core. You go to the right side, and it was just unbelievable. Yeah. Right? I moved from downtown. I moved from Jacksonville shortly after Charley to start at UCF. Yeah, Leah. I mean, I was at UCF. I remember that. So I remember doing UCF marching nights, and then we stopped for Charley, and then I remember going back for UCF marching nights after Charley, stopped for Francis. I remember going over Gene, stopped for Gene, and I just remember that year it was just like, man, can we get some time where I don't have to work 16-hour shifts? Sammy, didn't Charley hit us twice? No, it was a straight shot. It made the first. So this is interesting, right? And we can get into some of the nerddom of it, right? For Hurricane Charley, there was no way at the time to issue inland tropical advisories. So let's just take a look at the current state of affairs for a minute. Tropical storm warnings are in effect for Puerto Rico. You see how all the coastlines are circled? I would be willing to bet, and I don't know that I have it turned on this layer. Let me just look real quick. Yeah, okay. So Puerto Rico has inland tropical storm warnings as well as coastal, okay? Back in 2004, there were no inland tropical advisories. There were none. So I remember at one point, maybe it was, I think it was Charley. When Charley came through, the National Weather Service office in Melbourne, maybe, I mean, 20 years of memory, I could probably go back and look. I feel like they issued a tornado warning for the entire area of Central Florida because that was their only way of being like, y'all, S is about to hit the fan. That was what they were able to do. They didn't have, now there's extreme wind warnings to let you know it's about to go, right? There's inland hurricane warning. They didn't have any of that back in 2004. The first line was lifting north in 2004 by like 4 p.m. The core of the storm came through like 7, 8 p.m. And by midnight, it was off the shoreline. But if I remember, they just issued a tornado warning for the entire area. And they're like, it's just, conditions are about, and man, I'd love to go back and try and find that tornado warning. Any of you internet sleuths, go back to August 13th, 2004, 4 p.m. I know there was a tornado warning because that first wave was lifting from Osceola into the metro and had some spin to it. But I want to say it was like 6 or 7 p.m. They just issued a tornado warning for the entirety of Central Florida. And they're like, it's about to get real because that was their only way to like do something. Should have gotten, I should have gotten Tony Cristaldi, retired National Weather Service meteorologist. Should have gotten him on Coffee Talk this morning to talk. Anyway, I was not at Wesh at the time. I was with another team, but I'll tell you, Wesh had the severe disadvantage of it was the opening ceremony of the Athens Games. So they had to preempt that to cover Hurricane Charley. Man. In a lot of ways, this will never happen again. The way that it happened, like Ian struck and social media, it's a whole different world. National Hurricane Center can issue updates at any point in time. They couldn't back then. So you're stuck using an old cone. There's a lot of these things that just will never happen again. But it's a good reminder that no matter where in Florida you live, it's going to rain. It could rain. It could hurricane. Yeah. Sammy says, don't forget about Francis. I'm not. It's just, it's not the anniversary. Holy cannoli. Matt found something. Holy cannoli. Oh my God. Matt found it. How did you do that so quickly, Matt? All right, let me turn this around and I'll share it. Oh my God, Matt, you are ridiculous, but you found it. Copy image address. Oh my God, Matt found it. Oh my God, ridiculous. There it is. Okay. Tornado warning for Southern Lake, Orange, Northwestern Osceola until 7:45. At 6:42, the National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning for destructive winds over 100 miles an hour and tornadoes in the eye wall and inner rain bands for Hurricane Charley. Leading edge of Hurricane Charley's destructive winds is expected to move in the Kissimmee area, Greater Orlando. Wow. So they did this not necessarily because of a tornado threat, but because of the destructive winds. And then tornadoes are possible, but wow, Matt, you are ridiculous that you found that so quickly. I remember reading this and Matt, you're amazing. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you for being you. Wow. Now there are inland hurricane warnings. Now there are extreme wind warnings. And what's so interesting is the first time the extreme wind warning came to be because of this tornado warning, because the National Weather Service essentially said we were powerless to do anything else. And the extreme wind warning came to be. And what was the first extreme wind warning? If memory serves, it was issued by the Melbourne National Weather Service office in Hurricane Matthew or Dorian, they all start to go together. Wow. Blue Goose, a clearly delighted air. I mean, like, I would have never imagined getting this so quickly, but and also like my memory is so crappy that just the sheer fact that my idiot brain remembered it correctly, I'm delighted about that too. Wow. All right. So that's the stuff. I'm going to do stuff on TV, I'm sure, today about this. But like, this is one of those things I'm just not going to have the time to discuss. But a lot has changed in the 20 years since Charley. The science has gotten better. I just can't believe we found this so quickly. Matt, you get the gold star for today, buddy. Holy cannoli. All right. I'm sure there was another warning later, Lori. Yeah, I'm sure. But they just didn't want to go. Yeah. We've come a long way, baby. Yeah. Debbie says, show that to Jeremy today. I'm going to have to. Absolutely. Man, Matt, you are something else. I'm just so, wow. Look at you. Look at you. Look at you. Copy image. I'm going to post that on Twitter just so that I have it. Hold on. Hold on. I'm going to post it. The only way local NWS was able to warn was using the tornado warning back then. Now they can issue extreme wind. Oh, did I just post it? Oh, what's going on? Extreme wind warnings and inland hurricane warnings. So much has changed in 20 years, thankfully. All right. I'm posting that to Twitter also so that I can go back and get it. All right. Let's see here. Man. All right. That's all I got. That's all I got. I got to go get packed so that I can get to work, y'all. We'll talk more about this though on tracking the tropics at 10. I won't be so like caught off guard, which is great. With that warning, and I thank you for that. But yeah, we'll talk more about Charley. We'll talk more about Ernesto. I just can't believe it's been 20 years since Charley. Like, man. All right, people. Be the sunshine in someone else's day. Thank you for hanging out. Matt, thank you for the quick research. Dude, you get a gold star and a cup of coffee. All right. Be good, y'all. See you at 10. Bye.